Okay, good afternoon, students. Anyhow, we already completed the discussion of logarithms, how to make use of logarithm table, and how that logarithm tool is used in solving the complicated arithmetic sums. Today, we shall start with a new chapter, which is no way in concern with the earlier laws and other things, because before starting or before dealing any chapter in a physics, we should have some basic ideas and information, at least laws and theorems regarding that topic. That's why here I thought that this is the new chapter, which will be easier in understanding the concepts. That's why I have started with this new chapter called as a gravitation. What is gravitation? Gravitation is a force of attraction. Is a force of attraction existing between any two bodies in the universe. The force of attraction existing between any two massive bodies in the universe is called as a gravitation. That force of attraction that we know, every massive body or a massive object, if it has some mass, that massive object, that massive body attracts another body or another object. That force of attraction existing between the two massive bodies in the universe is called as a gravitation. And the force of attraction between any body and the earth is called as a gravity. The force of attraction existing between any body or any object with the earth, between body and earth, is called as a gravity. In the universe, if we talk in general, that force of attraction existing between two massive bodies or two massive objects in the universe is called as a gravitation. There was a huge history behind this topic, gravitation, which was observed by Greek ancients, even Indian scientists like Aryabhatta, and he had given all the accurate time duration and periods and how eclipse will take place, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, and the date, time, everything is given by the Indian scientist called as Aryabhatta, but which is unaware to the Western scientists. But Western scientists who tried to work on this, there is a huge history of this topic. Initially, in the beginning, Greek ancient philosopher Ptolemy, he observed the gravitation. The body or the object which is thrown in upward direction is again going to fall to the earth only, is being attracted all the time by the earth only, irrespective of its mass. All the bodies, whatever are thrown in upward direction, are being attracted, and they are all, if they are all made to fall, they will travel or they are accelerated with the same time period, with the same equal time period, irrespective of their masses. That was the observation observed by the Ptolemy. Later, the series of scientists and philosophers who went on observing the things to study this gravitation, and in those scientists, namely some 2 or 3 are important persons. You might have heard the name Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe, he was the scientist or a philosopher, we can say, who observed the positions of the astronomical bodies throughout his lifetime. On observing, he collected some data. With the naked eye only, he observed the positions of the planets and the stars throughout his lifetime, and he collected some data. And later, based on those collected data, which were collected by the Tycho Brahe, Kepler formulated 3 laws based on the observations done by the Tycho Brahe. Kepler did formulate all those observations and data together, and he had put forth his data in the form of laws, which are known as Kepler's laws of planetary motion. 3 laws are there, which are known as Kepler's laws of planetary motion. And what they state, and before these laws, long back, near about 500 years, long duration, during that course of a time, people thought that geocentric system means Earth is at the center, Sun and all other planets are revolving around the Earth. It was the believed by the ancient people, not for 1 year or 2 years, for the duration of 500 years. They thought that Earth is the center, and all other planets and even including Sun, all other celestial bodies are revolving around the Earth. And that system, which was believed by those ancient people, that system, it was considered as a geocentric system. Later, after passage of some 500 years, Copernicus, he had come into the picture, and he suggested that instead of a geocentric system, and he suggested that is not the right concept or a right thing, but actually Sun is at the center, all other planets are revolving around the Sun. This idea and concept was given by the Copernicus, and this theory is called as a heliocentric theory. Heliocentric means Sun is at the center, all other planets are revolving around the Sun. This was given by the Copernicus. This theory is called as a heliocentric theory. And what we were discussing, the 3 laws of a planetary motion, which actually were given by the Kepler. That's why these laws are named as a Kepler's laws of planetary motion. And according to him, how did he give the 3 laws, set of 3 laws? Based on the data collected by the Tycho Brahe, a senior fellow who had given his own observations in the form of a data. On referring those data, Kepler gave 3 laws of motion of planets, how actually planets are revolving around the Sun, and according to which, what he states there in his statement, in his first law, Kepler states that in his first law, which is called as a law of orbits, each planet revolves around the Sun in an elliptical orbit, and the Sun is situated at one of the foci of the ellipse. This first law given by the Kepler that gave us an idea regarding the orbits, how actually planets are revolving around the Sun. Even though on thinking that Sun is at the center and all other planets are revolving around the Sun, even on thinking that heliocentric system, how actually these planets are revolving around the Sun. That pattern, that mode of revolution of planets around the Sun was given by the Kepler in his first law, and which states that each planet revolves around the Sun in an elliptical orbit, and the Sun is situated at one of the foci of the ellipse. Here we should know what is an ellipse. Ellipse is a geometrical structure like a circle, parabola, hyperbola. What we have geometrical structures like that only. Ellipse is also a geometrical structure. That is the path followed by the planets while they are revolving around the sun. Say, this is an ellipse, a geometrical shape or structure. Here, sun is assumed to be at one of the foci. Here in this diagram you can see, sun is at one of the foci means ellipse will have two foci. Plural form of a focus. Plural form of a focus is called as a foci, and there are two foci for the ellipse. However, circle will have a center. That will have a circle. Center. Circle will have the center. That center, and its circumference will be at the equal distance from that center. That is called as a radius. And in that case, circle will have a radius. That is the distance from the center of a circle to the circumference. Similarly, ellipse is another geometrical shape which will have two foci. Here you can see in this diagram S1 and S2. This is called as a focus. This is called as a focus, and there are two axes. The axis which is passing through the center of the ellipse and foci. That axis is called as a major axis. That straight line or that axis which is passing through the center of the ellipse and foci of the ellipse. That straight line or axis which is passing through the center and foci of the ellipse is called as a major axis, and one more straight line or one more axis is there, that which also is passing through the center, and this axis is called as a minor axis. The large axis or large straight line which is passing through the center of the ellipse is called as a major axis. Another sharp straight line or vertical line which is passing through the center is called as a minor axis, and this is an elliptical orbit along which the planets are supposed to revolve around the sun. Okay, now we have come across the foci. Foci means there are two points on the principal major axis through which is passing through the center of the ellipse. Here there is a one focus, and here there is a one more focus, and plural form of these called as a foci. And sun is assumed to be at one of the foci, either at S1 or at S2. If suppose sun is assumed to be somewhere at this foci S1, and all other planets, here it is shown, the planets are supposed to revolve in an elliptical orbit around this sun, and sun is considered at one of the foci of the ellipse. So this will give us an idea of orbit of a planet around the sun, how actually they are revolving. That's why this law is called as a law of orbits. This first law is called as a law of orbits because it gives the information or idea regarding the orbit of the planet around the sun. And this law is formulated by the Kepler based on the inverse square law. Based on the inverse square law, we know that force of attraction existing between the two bodies is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Newton's law. Based on that inverse square law, Kepler gave his first law called as a law of orbits. First law of Kepler based on the universe's square law. And later, second law of Kepler, which states that Kepler's second law of planetary motion, it states that the line joining a planet to the sun sweeps out equal areas in equal intervals of time. Here in this diagram you can see, if a planet is revolving around elliptical orbit in anti-clockwise direction, if suppose planet is revolving in an elliptical orbit around the sun, and sun is assumed to be at one of the foci of this ellipse, sun is situated at one of the foci. Now consider a planet which is revolving from position P1 to position P2, from P1 to P2. During its revolution, the line joining, here I am taking SP1, this is the line from sun to planet, the line which joins sun to planet when the planet was at the P1 position. Now if you sweep this line joining from sun to the planet position P1 to the, when it moves on to the another position P2, the line how it is swept out, you can see that this is the line from sun to planet P1, SP1, that line. When it is swept from SP1 to SP2, this area, the area covered by this SP1P2, SP1P2, this area covered by the line joining from sun to the planet, that area swept out is going to be equal in equal intervals of time. See, when we consider planet at this position is called as an aphelion position. Aphelion position means planet is far away from the sun. If the planet is far away from the sun, that position is called as an aphelion position. If the planet is nearby the sun, then that position is called as a perihelion position. Perihelion position. Aphelion means planet is at larger distance, far away from the sun. Perihelion position means planet is closer to the sun, nearby the sun. Now if we calculate this area, what I am showing now by shading this shaded area SP1P2, this area if we calculate and compare with this area SP34, again I am taking one more line which is joining from sun to the planet. When planet comes to the position P3, now if I take out one more area which is covered by the line joining from sun to position of the planet, when the planet is in a perihelion position, when the planet is nearby the sun, now this area if it is calculated and compared with this area SP34, this is the one area, and SP1P2, this is another area. When we compare area SP1 and SP1P2 and area SP34, these two areas are going to be equal in their areas on calculating and comparing. It means if the area covered by the line joining from sun to the planet is going to be equal in equal intervals of time. That's why when planet is far away from the sun, it revolves slowly, and this much of distance is covered from P1 to P2, only this much. When the same planet, when it comes nearby the sun or a star, it is going to revolve at a faster rate from P3 to P4. Look at this distance from P1 to P2. Here it will be a small distance. P3 to P4, it will be larger distance. What it means? When the planet is far away from the sun, it revolves slowly at slower rate, and when the same planet, when it comes nearby the sun, it starts to move or it starts to revolve at a faster rate. That's why in different seasons we will have different time durations of a day and a night. In winter, days will be shorter, nights will be longer. In summer, days will be longer and nights will be shorter, depending upon the seasons. And these seasons have been arised because of position of the planet, whether the planet is in an aphelion position or perihelion position. Aphelion means planet is far away from the sun. Perihelion means planet is very close to the sun. When the planet is in a perihelion position, far away from the sun, it revolves slowly, and the same planet nearby the sun, it revolves at a faster rate when it is in a perihelion position. That was given by the Kepler's second law, which is also called as a law of areas. What does it state? The line joining a planet to the sun, this line P1 to S, the line joining from planet to sun sweeps out equal areas in equal intervals of time. And this second law is based on the law of conservation of angular momentum. Law of conservation of angular momentum. Mathematically, it can be shown like this. Conservation of angular momentum means L is the notation used to denote angular momentum. That angular momentum L is equal to constant, or you can write change in L with respect to time is equal to 0. dl by dt is equal to 0. L is angular momentum. Say linear momentum is represented by the rotation P, which is equal to mv, mass into velocity. Angular momentum is denoted by the rotation called as a L, and its formula is m into v into r, where m is the mass, v is the velocity, r is the radius. M is the mass, v is the velocity, and r is the radius. Linear momentum is mass into velocity. Angular momentum is mass into velocity into radius. Linear momentum means when the body is moving along the straight line. Along the straight line when it is moving, then there comes linear momentum. When body is exhibiting rotational motion, then angular momentum will come. Angular momentum. If the body is moving along the straight line, then we will have a linear momentum. If the body is revolving, if it is exhibiting a revolution or a rotational motion, then we will have angular momentum. Momentum means quantity of motion. Momentum means quantity of motion. Is nothing but the quantity of motion. And how is that measured? If the body is in straight line motion, that linear momentum is measured as a product of mass and velocity. If the body is exhibiting rotational motion, then that quantity of motion, angular momentum, if it is exhibiting a rotational motion, instead of a linear momentum, we will have an angular momentum, and that angular momentum is measured by the product of mass into velocity into radius. Here momentum means, it should be clear, that is a quantity of motion. For example, if I am moving along the straight line on a road, if I am running, if I hit to the another person, who is not moving at all, if he is at rest position, to that resting position, to that resting person, if I am going to hit by running, definitely when I hit him, what I can do, I can give my velocity, my speed to that person with whom I am going to hit. This property of giving my speed to the another person, or the property of giving of or imparting of velocity of a moving body to the resting body, is called as a momentum. If I, by running, if I am hitting some another person who is in a rest, who is at rest, there what we expect, by running, what I am having that speed or velocity, I am going to give my velocity to that person who is resting. This property of imparting velocity of a moving body to the resting person is called as a momentum. That is called as a quantity of a motion. ನಾನು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ನಾನು ಆನ್ ದಿ ರೋಡ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ನಾನು ಲೀನಿಯರ್ ವೆಲಾಸಿಟಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ನನಗೆ ಲೀನಿಯರ್ ಮೋಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಬಿಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀನಿ. ಯಾರು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಕೂತಿರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ, ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಗೆ, ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇರೋ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಗೆ, ಓಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವನು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇದ್ದಾನಂದರೆ, ಅಂಥ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾನು ಹಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಡಿಕ್ಕಿ ಹೊಡೆದೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ನನ್ನ ಸ್ಪೀಡು ಅವನಿಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಆ ವಸ್ತು ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಲೈನ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಲೀನಿಯರ್ ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮೆಜರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು? ಲೀನಿಯರ್ ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ P is equal to ಮಾಸ್ ಇಂಟು ವೆಲಾಸಿಟಿ. ಅದೇ ವಸ್ತು ಅಥವಾ ಬಾಡಿ ರೊಟೇಷನಲ್ ಮೋಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಬಿಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಅದು ಸರಳ ರೇಖೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ವೃತ್ತಾಕಾರವಾಗಿ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ, ಅವಾಗ ಅಂಥ ಬಾಡಿಗೆ, ಅಂಥ ವಸ್ತುವಿಗೆ ಯಾವುದು ವೃತ್ತಾಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಚಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತಾ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತಾ? ಆಂಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲಾನೆಟ್ಟು ಎಂಥ ಚಲನೆ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ರೊಟೇಷನಲ್ ಮೋಷನ್, ಸುತ್ತ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ರೊಟೇಷನಲ್ ಮೋಷನ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಅಂಥ ಬಾಡಿ, ಅಂಥ ವಸ್ತು ರೊಟೇಷನಲ್ ಮೋಷನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಬಿಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವ ಮೂಮೆಂಟನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತದು? ಆಂಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟಮ್. ಆ ಆಂಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಂದರೆ ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದನೋ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದನೋ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಆಗೋದು ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಕನ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಂಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟಮ್, ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆಂಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟಮ್ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? ಎಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಟೈಮ್, ಸಮಯಾಂತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯನ್ನು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ನೀವು ಅಂದರೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತಾ? 0. ದ ರೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಂಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಮೊಮೆಂಟಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು 0. ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಾವು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು? ಏನು ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಏನಿದೆ 0. ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಏನು? 0. ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬದಲಾವಣೆ 0 ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನರ್ಥ? ಅದು ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. Based on this law of conservation of angular momentum, this second law was proposed by the Kepler, which is known as a law of areas. And the third law of Kepler, what it states? Third law of Kepler states that the square of a time period of a revolution of a planet around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis of its elliptical orbit. It means time taken to complete one rotation around the sun is called as a time period. ಒಂದು ಸುತ್ತಾಕೋಕೆ ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಸುತ್ತ ಗ್ರಹ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋ ಟೈಮ್ನ ನಾವೇನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಅದರದ್ದು ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಸಮಯ. ಏನು ಸಮಯ? ಏನೇನು ಟೈಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಹ ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಸುತ್ತ ತಿರುಗೋಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ಟೈಮ್. ಅರ್ಥದೆಷ್ಟಿದೆ? 365 days. 365 days is the time period of an earth or to revolve around the sun. That is the time taken by the earth to revolve around the sun. How much it is of 365 days. And square of that time period of a revolution of a planet around the sun. ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಸುತ್ತ ಯಾವುದೇ ಗ್ರಹ ಸುತ್ತಾಕೋಕೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ಟೈಮ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಅಂತೀವಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಪ್ಲಾನೆಟ್ ಅರೌಂಡ್ ದಿ ಸನ್ ಈಸ್ ಯಾವುದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತದು? ಈಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನಲ್ ಟು, ನೇರ ಅನುಪಾತದಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಈಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನಲ್ ಟು ದಿ ಕ್ಯೂಬ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೆಮಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲಿಪ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್. ಯಾವ ಎಲಿಪ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತಾ ಆ ಎಲಿಪ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ಸೆಮಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್. ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಗೊತ್ತು ನಮಗೆ. ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಇದೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಲೈನ್. ಯಾವುದು ಫೋಸೈಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಎಲಿಪ್ಸ್ ಥ್ರೂ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೋ ಅದನ್ನ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಥ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಎಲಿಪ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸೆಂಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಎಲಿಪ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ಎಲಿಪ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟ್ ವರೆಗೂ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಇದು ಸೆಮಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್. ಫ್ರಮ್ O to A in this diagram, from O to A, this is the semi major axis. ಅರ್ಥ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಟು ಅರ್ಥ ಸೆಮಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್. ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಸುತ್ತ ಗ್ರಹ ತಿರುಗ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಸುತ್ತ ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರುತ್ತೋ ಆ ಟೈಮ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದು ಕ್ಯೂಬ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೆಮಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೇರ ಅನುಪಾತದಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. The square of the time period of revolution of a planet around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis of its elliptical orbit. T square is proportional to R cube. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಭೂಮಿದು 365 ಡೇಸ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ 365 ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಅದು ಯಾವುದರಲ್ಲಿ ನೇರ ಅನುಪಾತದಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತಾ ಅದು ಭೂಮಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸೂರ್ಯನ ನಡುವೆ ಇರೋ ಸೆಮಿ ಮೇಜರ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಸ್ ಕ್ಯೂಬಿಗೆ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಪೋರ್ಷನಲ್ ನೇರ ಅನುಪಾತದಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. These are the three laws given by the Kepler, which are known as Kepler's laws of planetary motion. First law is law of orbits, second law is law of areas, and the third law is law of time period. Law of time period. All the three laws gave us the clear information regarding the planetary motion around the sun, how they actually revolve. Say for 5 marks it will be asked most oftenly. For that you need to write the 3 statements, one diagram, either this or this, with the 2 mathematical expressions. For the second law, there should be mentioned angular momentum will be constant or change in angular momentum with respect to time is equal to 0. And another mathematical expression for the third law is T square is proportional to R cube. Square of the time period of the revolution of the planet around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis of an elliptical orbit. Thank you. We will see some more topics in next session.